DEPSTECH have kindly sent me this endoscope to review. This is the DS300 and it's got a single lens. They have got a model which has a dual lens, so that has a lens on the side, so you can kind of get a different angle. But this is the single lens version. It's a bit cheaper than the other one. So let's have a look, see what's in the box, see what you get. Okay, so small user manual, and then the unit itself, prise that out, and then the other stuff that's in the box, some accessories there to attach to the end of the scope, and USB charging cable, so that's micro USB. So let's take a look at the unit itself. You can get this in a couple of colours. So you've got the black version here with the buttons. You can get an orange instead. And underneath there's like a weatherproof flap for an SD card, which comes pre-installed. So that's 32 gig. And then you've got that charging port for the battery, which lasts about 4 hours. And there's a reset sort of hole there, and there's a button down there that you can press to reset the unit. Okay, pushing that back in, we'll take a look around the rest of the unit. Now it's solid plastic all the way around. It's nothing to take off, no other covers or anything like that. Feels solid. And then we've got the endoscope itself. So this is 5 meters long, so it's pretty long really. I've got a really cheap one from AliExpress and it's nowhere near as long as this. And then we've got the camera at the end there, and you can see it's got the little camera with some LEDs around there. There's a little barrel around the tip of the camera which is removable, and we'll look at that in a minute, but that's 6.2 millimeters. And then the main barrel of the unit is 5.2 mil, and then the cable itself 3.6. So it's pretty compact, and that is also smaller than the other cheaper one I had from AliExpress. And the length of that camera unit and LEDs is about 37 mil. Okay, so I mentioned before you've got some attachments in this little pot, and the first thing you need to know is that this unscrews. It's not obvious at first, but if you unscrew this, now you've got a thread where you can put the attachments. So there are a bunch of attachments in the pot, and going through them you've got a hook, so you can attach that to the end and hook things. It's got one with a magnet, so you can use that instead of a hook to get a metallic object. And then you've got a mirror which will give you a different field of view, so it shows you a 90-degree view of wherever you're inspecting. The only thing I found with the magnet was that it obscures the view of the camera, so you have no idea whether you are sort of in the right area or not. The hook doesn't suffer from that problem. You can kind of see around it and see whether you've managed to hook the thing. But yeah, with the magnet version, you really have to hope that you've got it or not. And the mirror, it's worth noting there's a tiny little blue plastic film across the mirror. You need to carefully remove that so that the mirror actually works. Otherwise you'll just see a blue smudge. The mirror works pretty well actually, and gives you a good field of view. I think the only thing you'd struggle with is being able to direct where you're looking by turning the whole unit. On the unit itself, we've got here, that's a 4.3 inch colour screen. If you press and hold the power button, that will turn it on. And then we've got the camera on the end there. LEDs are fully on. Use the left and right to control the brightness of the LEDs. You can see that being reduced, increased, and it will turn it off completely. We could have maybe done with it being in smaller increments so that you can really get that brightness right down. But the camera copes really well with the brightness, and even on the, like with them completely turned off, it works really well in the dark, much better than the cheap one I've got, and I will do another comparison video which shows you the difference between this one and a really cheap endoscope from AliExpress. There's a button here that allows you to switch the display round 180 degrees, so you can flip that round, which is quite handy if you've got the camera down a pipe and you can't adjust the view of the camera. You can flip that over so it's more comfortable to view. We've got a menu button here that will give you access to the settings for the device. So it records at 1080p and you can drop that down to 720. Let's go back up. You can obviously change the language, has the power off feature, format the memory card and reset the system. Oh, and you can set the time and date in there. Gives you a readout of how much space there is on the SD card and the version of the software, and that's it in there. So going back here, if you just tap the button at the top, it tells you that it, very briefly, that it's taken a picture, and then if you long press, now it started recording video. The video quality is not bad. I think there is some rolling shutter in there, and the frame rate seems on the low side. I'll include sample video so you can see that now. And then a long press on the power button will turn the unit off. As you saw, it's pretty quick to boot up. The whole thing is pretty solidly built. The endoscope itself is super long, so I could see that being useful. But obviously you only have to unfurl the bit that you need to work with, and this semi-rigid cable. It's nice and pliable, so you can get that down where you need to inspect. The only thing that you might want to think about is that there's a little bit here that when you're pulling it back out, it can sometimes get stuck. So you would need to bash it back and forth to hopefully get over any obstacle. But what you might think about is maybe filing that down to make that into an angle, and then that's easier to slip back out if anywhere that you've got it without it getting caught on any obstructions on the way out. Overall, I'm pretty impressed by this. It's a decent unit. It feels like it's solidly built. I like the fact that you've got a dedicated screen. Seems good in low light when you're using the camera. That's much more impressive than the cheap one I've got. And obviously the sheer length of that cable should mean it's much more versatile for inspecting longer pipes and whatever. So the fact it also comes with that 32 gig memory card, I think that's great, that it works straight out the box and you're good to go. So for a price of about £60 on Amazon, obviously check the listings because the prices do go up and down. It's pretty decent. I think a few of the things that could be improved, maybe have this smoothed down at the edge here so that it just doesn't get caught when you're pulling it back out of whatever you're inspecting, and the magnet obscuring the view of the camera, maybe that could have been offset somehow so that you can see past it. So I'd definitely say take a good look at this if you're interested in an industrial endoscope. It's got a very small camera head, especially compared to the cheap ones, and that really long cable is going to help you out, I think. Anyway, I hope this was useful. Keep an eye out for my next video, which will compare this unit with that cheap endoscope from AliExpress. Otherwise, see you next time.